right now. Take it away, Lisa.
Welcome, 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 everybody, to another amazing Mastermind Monday, Monday, October 18th. I'm so excited about today's guest. Before I get started, let me first thank, as I always do, Christine McClellan, our CTO of the New England region, for always being here and getting us started, posting up on YouTube. Forgive me for being driving around. I'm going to be parked in a moment. And just to also mention, next week we have Kim Cameron is doing a 2-day class, 10 to 2, on building a team, which is going to be amazing. That will give you all your RRC credits. We got some great special rates. If you're interested, reach out to us. You can check our Facebook page. We'd love to see you there. It's going to be an amazing class to think about as we think about growing and expanding into 2022. But let me, with no further ado, please introduce my friend and fellow CRS, Amy McCoy. Amy and I met actually in Vegas. That sounds kind of good. I should just leave it at that. Amy and I met in Vegas at the CRS event at Caesars. But we kind of, you know how when you just like patch up with somebody at a conference and then you end up like going to absolutely every single thing with them? That happened with us, and we really got to know each other. And since then, we both are major investors, so we've been together in DC and really enjoyed getting to know each other. And one of the really interesting and amazing things about Amy McCoy is that she has kind of interestingly, I want to say fallen into, but then very intentionally pursued an amazing international business. So here's a gal from the hood in Atlanta who is jetting all over the world with a lot of international clients. And I said, oh my God, that is so fantastic, Amy. Would you come and share that info with us? And so that is why I asked Amy to join us today. And just so you know, Amy, we continue to have people jump in during this 30 minutes. We have no idea why, but people will continue to come. And then we do also post this on our Facebook or on our YouTube channel every week. So people can continue to learn from this in the future as well. So with all of that said, I'm going to mute myself, and I cannot wait to hear from Amy.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on what side of the country you're on. Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. Christine and Kurt, thank you guys for attending this morning. I am delighted and honored to have been asked. And so, of course, when you ask, I show up because that's what CRS agents do, right? So, the beautiful thing with my career, I've been doing it for 17 years. And when I first got into real estate, I was a drill sergeant at a maximum security prison. So it kind of helped me identify my niche a lot sooner. Everybody knows I'm a get to the point person. And so most my international clients can appreciate and respect that because I've uh, set my business up to a certain degree where, again, respect always comes first, because one thing we learn in this business is not all money is good money, and you have to know your business acumen to know what you'll tolerate and what you can't. And because of that, being able to identify that, most of my clients, we can have an amazing relationship right off the bat, and that's what CR agents are known for: their professionalism and making sure that they are standing for their clients. And so it has allowed me to have this niche that, well, let me start here. So for anyone that knows me across the country or even here in Atlanta knows that I'm a huge advocate for fair housing. And that has played a big part on how I was able to tailor my business with international investors, because I had a specific goals with providing a little bit more equity within my communities in Atlanta. And when I couldn't get traditional financing, I found a way to leverage how I was going to actually able to get communities changed by using liquid dollars. And that was how I was able to raise it with international investors, because their main goal is, how does the dollar work for me? But most importantly, I wanted to make sure that the dollar worked for my community. And so while serving on different advisory boards, I was able to uh, get more education on what those needs are. And a lot of that also stemmed from my climb through leadership, because as you're more involved in your boards and things like that, you start to recognize how to maneuver within this industry to really essentially get what you want, right? And so I was able to use that, leverage it, work hand in hand with legislators to make sure that, hey, if I can bring dollars into this community, can we make sure that those resources, where is the police, where is, permits and things like that? We're not just talking about changing communities by slapping paint on the wall, right? We're actually talking about rebuilding roofs and foundations and cleaning all the debris in the right of ways that were government maintained right of ways that were long forgotten, and you had to remind them. So, long story short, that's kind of how it started when I grew up overseas, and so I had knowledge of what it was like living in other countries. And so, because of my military background, I was able to learn quickly, the difference between the demographics and how certain demographics work with women and some that don't, and kind of being mindful of that. But the former drill sergeant in me just moved that all to the side because you're going to work with me. And so a lot of them respected that, which allowed me having certain relationships to allow me to start exploring going into those countries. For me personally, I built my business up to where I can now afford to fly or now be flown in to sit and speak with different investors in their countries, because I take the willingness to want to learn about their culture. It makes it easier for them to want to work with me because they see that I take the next step to want to engage with them, that they engage back. So it's a nice mutual understanding there. And in learning what their needs are, just like with any client, you would sit down and say, hey, what are your goals? Are you looking for something to flip? Are you looking for something for a long term? And most international clients, they're looking beyond just the flip. They're actually looking for long term hold. Some have their financial goals are based upon their family timeline. Maybe they have a child that's getting ready to go to a university or things like that. And so you're helping them be strategic and planning that mission out for them. Um, I've linked up with several financial advisors that also work well with international clients. And having those partnerships is what helps bring more into the game. So now, for me personally, I have clients that I meet on a quarterly basis with clients in Dubai. I have clients in Lagos. I have clients in Malaysia. I have clients in Hong Kong, all the way to Australia, Canada, the UK. Um, and some may say, well, do you have any clients in the US? Yes, I do. But majority of my clientele is working with international clients because I did find that as a niche that a lot of people were missing. And it was just taking that extra step to get to know what those needs are. And I don't speak a lot of foreign languages. I was just in Mexico last week, and I had the universal hello and goodbye wave. And so now I will say I'm going to make more of a conscious effort, because when I grew up, I spoke German fluently as a child. However, coming back to the United States, it wasn't something that I was around a German population to be able to continue to cultivate using that language. So I have forgotten quite a bit. My Spanish, like I said, I wish it was better. But the more, clients I have from Malaysia and Hong Kong and things like that, like I actually want to pick up more Mandarin. I want to learn other languages. Um, but most of them, they're wanting to do business here in the Georgia market or even in the US, because it doesn't matter where you are across the country. Dollars make sense, right? If it can actually turn a profit, that's what they want to see. How can they make their money work for them? And if they trust you, then they will continue to do business with you. I've been in this business 17 years, and it took a client out of from Malaysia that lives in the UK that forwarded me clients in Hong Kong. But it was that client that believed enough in me for me to start my hometown realty group. I wasn't even thinking about having my own company. I was stuck underneath a large brand and who really didn't believe in my growth the way I believed in it. And but then again, I couldn't even see owning my own. And it took a client that only known me for 4 months. And in 4 months, I made her over $1 million. And she was like, we're going to get you a building because you need to be doing for yourself. And we believe enough in you. And it's funny because that relationship started with her sending me an email, well, like 20 emails at 11 o'clock at night. And my phone was just doing ding, ding, ding. Everybody knows how crazy that can make you, right? Especially in real estate. And so I get my phone out and I'm looking at my phone, and my response was, look, lady, what do you want? That was for real my email. What is it that you want? And she just said that she had been sending emails and no one would respond to her. And when I looked at it, because keep in mind, the market at that time, we were coming out of the financial recession. And so properties in Atlanta were like $20,000, barely enough to buy groceries for the week, but you could. And but they were so few and far between. And so my response, she was just so happy. It didn't matter how curt I was with the email. It was just, wow, okay, you responded. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that gratitude. And so in having further conversations with her, I realized, okay, this is someone who actually really wants to purchase. So she flew in town within 30 days. We closed on like 9 properties, and I flipped a few for her, and then we held and maintained quite a few for rentals. And then that's where she said, because the company I worked with did not want anyone doing property management. And so I had been doing property management prior to getting into real estate. When you work at a prison, you're not only doing property, but you're also doing people management. So you gonna pay me my rent, right? So long story short, that's where we went with that. She believed in me. I picked out a building, and next thing I know, we closed on it. And that started my hometown realty group. Couldn't get, as a Black female here in Atlanta, unfortunately, I couldn't get any type of loans, commercial loans or anything. And the company that I was leaving took like my last 6 closings. And so here I'm pulling money out of my own pocket to make that decision to open my company. But I did. And I'm so glad I did, because in turn, as she watched what I was going through and yet was still able to keep my head up and focused on making her money, next thing I know, I had 5 more clients in my email then, which then connected me with clients in, just everywhere. I have clients even in Argentina. And I partner with different agents across the country, which a lot of them are actually my clients, that I've sold homes for and property managed for them, as well as mortgage bankers and things of that sort. But those connections then open up more opportunities. So like I said, I do investor meet and greet and presentations on a quarterly basis in Dubai. Because of COVID, I'm not able to fly all the time. So right now we're doing it through the lovely Zoom. Yay. But it's not the same as when you're in person. A lot of foreign clients, depending on the country they're from, they want to have that eye to eye contact, or at least the energy. They want to make sure they can see from your energy to make sure that they know they're in the right hands. So I guess in essence, I'm truly blessed just because I come forthcoming with them. I don't believe you have to make yourself greater than who you are. Like I said, I'm just a purple hair, tattoos, and just being my authentic self here in Atlanta. And people gravitate to that. And they have, I guess, in essence, fall in love with me just like I fall in love with them, because at the end of the day, I make them money. And that's what their goals are. So when people deviate from any strategic plan I set up from them, then they're not going to see the same results. So I'm very proud that I have clients that started with me even 17 years ago, and clients just like my client that bought the building. I'm not giving her any portions of my company or anything. She just believed enough in me to say, here is now your building. Here is now where you build from, and you go be profitable because you've made us profitable. And that speaks volume. And even for clients that she continues to uh, forward my direction, um, that's just super blessed. I would love to answer any particular questions if anyone has any that they would like to ask.
Yeah, guys, please speak up because I already have one, two, three, four, five written down, as I always do. Questions. Kurt,
Mhm.
Nelson, Jim. Hi, Annette. Nice to see you. Anybody have any questions for me?
Sure. I'll throw one out. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you so much, Amy, for sharing all
Hey.
that great information with us. That's really, really helpful. I'm assuming many realtors have always wanted to develop more of an international clientele, especially with so many wonderful buyers coming into the market right now from areas
Mhm.
outside the US. I thought it was interesting that you mentioned the linguistics and that you don't necessarily speak all the different languages of the populations you're servicing. Can you tell us more about how you work through language barriers or any other challenges could arise? Because I think it's just absolutely fantastic what you're doing.
Thank you. So I will say, even when we had a major data center company come into town here in Atlanta, and I was able to do this assemblage literally within 60 days, my very first assemblage. And I was very shocked because I had several clients that spoke Spanish. And but what I've learned is you hire professionals. So you get with the translator that can assist, or you confirm if they have a family member. Most of the people that may do the referral right off the bat may already have that, be a good conduit to help on any language barriers. But if you don't have that, um, it's funny. I went on a date one time with this guy and didn't speak a lick of English, so we were doing Google Translate the whole time. Let me just say that date didn't work out, but Google Translate can be your friend sometimes. So, but you have to make it work. And if you can't, then it's okay to refer off to find out who does speak that language and can help you, because we can all, there's enough money out here to be made that you can share in it. And there's nothing wrong with that. The biggest thing is you want to service the client, and they'll stick with you for life.
Great point. Thank you, Amy.
My pleasure.
Other questions? Okay, I'll get to mine. And then maybe some people other questions. So, one thing I was wondering, similar to I think kind of what coaching, if somebody wanted to consider expanding, their business and look at some national kinds of these, where do you think I think part of it, it says my internet's unstable. I think identifying the market on a buy-in.
So Lisa, you are cutting out. You may want to turn off your video and see if that helps.
I could do that. Better?
Not yet.
Better? Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? No?
Yes. Yes.
Yes? I'll try. So, I was going to ask about starting, how to get started. I think it probably helped to have a location that international buyers want to. Like the Boston area with all the universities and hospitals is like super logical, but like where I am on Cape Cod is not super logical for a lot of international buyers. So where if someone wanted to start, what are some of the very first things that they could get going with?
So that is a great question. And here's the answer I have for you. It's going to start with having the conversation with the client, because we think that sometimes it has to be, oh, I'm buying this cheap property and we're going to this full renovation and then we're going to throw a renter in there. But you have to look at what the actual goals of the client is. Sometimes it's just about tax depreciation. Sometimes it may just, I mean, there could be just several different ways of doing it. They could be thinking, okay, well, hey, I don't mind buying a luxury property because I'm looking for a luxury rental property. You know, it doesn't have to be the year-long rental type. For me here in Atlanta, it worked because I served on the Atlanta Housing Advisory Board, and we were trying to consciously find properties to transfer the stigmatism of people living like slumlords, you know, not maintaining their properties. And so we needed to build a different narrative and getting owners to reinvest in their house so that we can get better quality properties on the system and get our participants switched over to having jobs, and then being able, in order to lift people out of a situation, you got to give them a taste of what that situation could be better for them, and in essence works. So from your say marketplace, you have a lot of secondary homes or vacations, so you look at what you have available and then you build your story from there. Back in the day when I first started in this industry, it's a little different when you go to someone and say, hey, I'm in real estate, let me sell you a house, right? But if you walk into a room and said, man, I just saw this 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's, you know, so relatively inexpensive to fix up, maybe $5,000, and you could rent it for $1,600. And if I were to put a mortgage on it, I'd be making at least $500 cash flow. So you change the narrative of the way you capture someone's attention, because they are then looking at it from a different point of view. Cash flow, positive cash flow. That's where you started first, right? If they're going to look at it as an investment process. If you're looking at something to flip, oh man, I just saw this property and I could do this flip, put 20% down, put this much money in it, and I stand to make 50 grand out of it. Oh, well, how long does that process take? That's how you hook people in, right? So when you have that, you look at the scenario that happens within your marketplace. There's enough investment opportunity. And then say if that person maybe does have taxes that maybe they have high income, that they can afford to let properties depreciate, maybe look at it from a different standpoint and get on with a foundation, or that may need extra housing for domestic violence victims or stuff like that. You look at different scenarios to help. One, the gratitude comes from your community, that then they'll always find deals for you because you're working enough in your community to find deals for other people to bring and make sure that it's not an eyesore on the block. Here in Atlanta, you know, we were dealing with a lot of boarded up homes, grass as high as the roof lines. You know, we had to really make an impact. And so working with legislators, local municipalities, even with Congressman John Lewis, when he, you know, when it's around, that was able to help move communities forward. So you have to look at what that client's needs first is, because sometimes we just focus on, oh, okay, they can afford to spend 200,000 or up to $1 million. Well, what do I do? You know, we're just thinking that, you know, in reality, well, how much money can I make? But it's funny because when I sold May the first 9 houses, we probably only spent $125,000 on those 9 houses. So most people are like, oh, Amy only wants those little small cheapo commissions. But I learned how to take a commission that would have only been $1,000 and turn it into $8,000, because then I do property management. You have to look at how you can fully service that client in order to determine how you're going to make it profitable for them. And then start with a goal that, for me, when they do long-term holds for foreign investors, most of them have a 5-year strategy. So keep that in mind. Some will hold a lot longer. So the way that you do your calculations on cap rates, if you're dealing with rentals, a lot of those plays factors. And so when you're also connected with financial advisors for people that work within those current countries, they help put, tell that story, translate that story a lot easier for them. And so for most of my clients that work with me, I have power of attorney for when we close, when we purchase, all of that. So it comes to a trust factor, but you have to make sure that you keep everything above board and ethical, because you never want the real estate commission to come knocking at your door, right? That's right.
Yeah, for
Good thing
sure.
I'm a CRS
Well, and
agent.
yeah. And I think, we only have a couple more minutes, but one of the things that I think is so really linked into your story and how you came to where you were was that you were also working with non-traditional financing sources. And I'm assuming that's hard money and other kinds of money. So we don't even have time to sort of get into that, but um, but I'd like to. So how can we start that conversation about working, working with hard money, working with lenders outside of kind of the norm, because that has allowed you to do some of that investing both locally as well as been very attractive to international investors.
So for me, I didn't do a lot of hard money. What I did is more crowdfunding. So like even right now, I am dealing with a real estate syndicate here in Atlanta where we purposely buy commercial properties within Black communities. But the way that we established that syndicate is you had to be a Georgia resident, and there's a whole other legalities that's part of that. But you have to look at, some investors just want to know that they're going to have a certain increment every month coming in, or hey, I want to make this much profit within 1 year. So sometimes I may marry two investors together under one LLC. One may have capital to be able to do the renovation. One may have just enough capital to have purchased the property. Then when we've resold the property, the money goes where it's supposed to go. Everyone pays their respective taxes based off of the way the United States may have the withholding tax. So there's a lot more involved backside of things. Just like, and I know our time is coming down, but I will say I've even gone to other countries and have met with their prime ministers just to find out about tourism and how people are able to own, buy, and sell in their country. So where I was just in Mexico last week, you never know. My hometown realty group may have an international office coming up soon. You just never know. It's about getting
Right?
educated on
Look at
how
you.
people do real estate.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think you would have an amazing career. I mean, there's what a need there would be to have people that we knew and trusted with the kind of ethics that you have, being able to put investors together in different marketplaces so that people could look, with the intent also of offering housing to groups that traditionally don't have that same access. So many people that come here that don't have credit and yet have a job. They don't have the traditional way to prove that they are credit worthy, but they certainly are. And putting together private investors like that is amazing, an amazing service. Thank you so much, Amy, for
Thank
coming on
you.
today. You're just a real bright light in all of our in everything that we do. I love knowing you and having you as a colleague. And also, Christy, I just want to thank you so much. I hope we're going to see you in San Diego at National Association of Realtors. Many of us will be there, and I sure hope that will be another bright light for us to see you. So please continue to do the amazing, amazing work you do. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Amy.
Thank you. And Christine did just put some information in the link to the class for next week. Please consider registering for that. It's building your team to grow your business, and it's with the amazing Kim Cameron, who will always keep saying that will be great. That's Thursday and Friday of next week. So thanks everybody for another amazing Mastermind Monday. We look forward to seeing you at our next Mastermind Monday.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Christine.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you, Amy. Goodbye.